Good afternoon, everyone. My name is ANDREI MAGTOTO. I'm here in front of you to discuss the global economy. The UN tried to address the different problems in the world. Their efforts were guided by 8 Millennium Development Goals, which they created in 1990s. Ano-ano nga ba ang 8 Millennium Development Goals? Nangunguna sa listahan ng eradication of extreme poverty and hunger. Pangalawa, achieving universal primary education. Pangatlo, promoting gender equality and women empowerment. Number 4, reducing child mortality. Number 5, improving maternal health. Number 6, combating disease like HIV, AIDS, and malaria. Number 7, ensuring environmental sustainability. At last, having a global partnership for development. These 8 Millennium Development Goals tried to achieve by UN since 2015. Here in the Philippines, a person is officially living in poverty if he makes less than 100,534 pesos a year or 275 pesos a day. This is called poverty line or poverty threshold. According to United States, extreme poverty is a condition characterized by severe deprivation of basic human needs including food, safe drinking water, sanitation, facilities, health, shelter, education, and information. The United States defined extreme poverty as living on less than $1.25 per day. The organization aims to eliminate extreme poverty for all people by 2030. 3 years ago, and the result wherein people still live extreme poverty, but that is down from 1.9 billion to 836 million, so there is success or at least a lot of progress. The World Bank predicted that by 2030, the number of people living in extreme poverty would drop to less than 400 million. Most people who have been lifted out of extreme poverty are still poor, and being poor comes with serious problems from disease to lack of water. Income equality is rampant, and 1 of 7 people still live without electricity. Alam naman natin na hindi mawawala ang kahirapan sa problema ng bawat bansa. At itong 8 Millennium Development Goals, ang nakikita nilang solusyon para kahit konti mabawasan ang problema sa bawat bansa.
Economic globalization and global trade. According to the United Nations, as cited in San Juan 2000, economic globalization refers to the increasing independence of world economies as a result of the growing scale of cross-border trade of commodities and services, flow of international capital, and wide and rapid spread of technologies. It reflects the continuing expansion and mutual integration of market frontiers and is an irreversible trend for the economic development in the whole world at the turn of the millennium. There are 2 different types of economic associated with economic globalization. The first is protectionism and trade. Protectionism, and the second is trade liberalization. Protectionism means a policy of systematic government intervention in foreign trade with the objective of encouraging domestic production. This encouragement involves help farmers get information and get the best price for the crops they are producing. Installing cell phone towers is also a lot cheaper than running thousands of kilometers of telephone lines. Economists call this leapfrogging, the idea that countries can skip straight to more efficient and cost-effective technologies that were not available in past. International trade has also created the opportunities for people to sell their products and labor in a global marketplace.
Economic globalization and global trade. Ayon daw po sa pinag-isang bansa, sa binanggit noong San Juan 2000, Ang globalisasyong pang-ekonomiya ay tumutukoy sa pagtaas at pagtutulungan ng mga ekonomiya sa mundo bilang resulta ng lumalaking sukat ng kalakalan sa hangganan, daloy ng mga kalakal at serbisyo na pang-international na kapital at upang mas mapalawak na mabilis na pagkalat ng mga teknolohiya. Ito din daw po ay sumasailalim sa pagtuloy na paglawak at kapwa pagsasama ng mga hangganan ng mga merkado at isang hindi may babalik na usok para sa pag-unlad ng ekonomiya sa buong mundo sa pagsisimula ng 1,000 taon. Mayroong dalawang magkaibang uri ng ekonomiya na nag-uugnay sa globalisasyong pang-ekonomiya. Ito daw po yung protectionism at saka yung liberalization protectionism. Yung protectionism daw po ay nangangahulugang isang patakaran ng sistematikong pang-intervention ng pamahalaan at kalakal na banyaga na may layunin na linlangin ang produksyong domestic. Yung trade liberalization, karaniwang dumarating sa anyo ng mga kotas at taripa. Ang mga patakarang ito daw po ay sinasagawa sa panahon ng mercantilist. Yung mga mercantilist daw po, sinasagawa daw po yon yung mga patakaran ngayon. Mula 16 hanggang ika-17 siglo, hanggang sa mga unang taon ay revolusyong pang-industriya, ang matinding pagkalumbay noong 1929. 1929 daw po yung taong pang-industriya, yung matinding pagkalumbay daw po nila. Ay minarkahan ang rurok ng proteksionismo. Hanggang ngayon, umiiral ang proteksionismo sa ekonomiya ng mundo sa kabila ng paglaki ng liberalisasyong pangkalakalan. Ang mga bansa tulad ng, ito daw po yung mga bansa tulad ng China, Japan, Estados Unidos ay naasikasan na nagsasagawa ng proteksionismo.
Globalization made some countries, especially the developing ones, to gain more in the global economy at the expense of the other nations. There are various ways, however, the country can make trade easier with other countries while lessening the inequities in the global world. One of them is fair trade. Nichols and Alpha 2005, Fair Trade as defined by the International Fair Trade Association, is the concern for the social, economic, and environmental well-being of marginalized small producers. Downey 2000, it aims for a more moral and equitable global economic system. Especially, it is concerned with protection of workers and producers, establishment of more just prices, engagement in environmentally sound practices, and sustainable production. Creation of relationships between producers in the South and consumers in the North, and promotion of safe working environment. Products like coffee, bananas, cotton, wine, tea, and chocolate have been exchanged in light of fair trade. Giving preferential treatment to domestic producers and discriminating against foreign competitors. McLean 2007 as cited in Richter 2015, trade protectionism usually comes in the form of quotas and tariffs. Tariffs are required fees on imports or exports. For instance, a pen that costs $1 in country A and in the country B. This policy was practiced during the mercantilist era from 16th to 17th centuries with the early years of the Industrial Revolution. Around 2007, the Great Depression of 1929 marked the peak of protectionism. Until today, protectionism exists in the world economy despite the growth of trade liberalization. Countries such as China, Japan, and the United States are being accused of practicing protectionism with SIR 2015.
Sa buong mundo, ng mas madali kaysa sa dati. Pinag-uusapan natin ang lahat mula sa sapatos, saging, hanggang sa mga makabagong idea. Kumuha tayo halimbawa ng mga mobile phone. Ang mga mobile phone ay tila mayroong mabuting kahihinatnan para sa lahat. Kabilang ang pagbawas ng kahirapan. Ayon sa ekonomista na si Jeffrey Sachs, ang mga mobile phone ay nag-iisang nakapagpapabago ng teknolohiya pagdating sa umuunlad na mundo. Binigyan ng mga telepono ang mga tao ng pag-access sa banking system at pagbabayad at mas mahusay na pag-access sa edukasyon. Sabi po nila, lahat daw po ng tao, binigyan daw po ng teknolohiya, yung cellphone. Siyempre po, di ba ngayon, sa panahon ngayon, karamihan ang mga tao ay ginagamit yung pang-internet, gano'n, mga cellphone. Kaya, parang ngayon po, dahil pandemic, naanoan po natin na more on ginagamit cellphone kasi nagagamit ito sa online class katulad ng ginagawa po natin ngayon. Ganon. Globalisasyon. Ginawang globalisasyon ang ilang mga bansa, lalo na ang mga umuunlad, upang makakuha ng higit pa sa pandaigdigang ekonomiya na gastos ng iba't ibang mga bansa. May iba't ibang paraan, subalit ang bansa ay maaaring gawin mas madali ang kalakal sa ibang mga bansa habang nagpapahirap sa mga hindi pagkapantay-pantay sa pandaigdigang mundo. Definition of global trade. Global trade, also known as an international trade, is simply the import and export of goods and services across international boundaries. Goods and services that enter into a country for sale are called imports. Goods and services that leave a country for sale in another country are called export. For example, a country may import wheat because it doesn't have much arable land, but export oil because it has oil in abundance. Yung import daw po, yun yung mga nilalabas sa bansa na mga produkto at ibinebenta sa ibang bansa. Yung export naman daw po na tinatawag, yun daw po yung pinapasok dito sa lugar natin at binebenta din. Katulad ng yung export po ng mga langis. Yan daw po yung yan daw po yung tinatawag na export. Import yung binebenta sa labas ng ating bansa, at yung export dito ibinebenta. Global trade. Ang pangalakal na kilala rin bilang international na kalakalan. Mga pang-international daw po na kalakalan, ito bilang kilala ay simpleng pag-import at pag-export ng mga produkto at serbisyo sa mga hangganan sa mga pang-ibang bansa.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Angelica DAZO. I'm here in front of you to discuss about economic globalization and sustainable development. Economic globalization refers to the increasing interdependence of the world economies. When we say economic globalization, it talks about the significant downside to globalized trade and perhaps the strongest argument against economic globalization is lack of sustainability, or the degree to which the Earth's resources can be used for our needs even in the future. That's economic globalization. Next is sustainable development. Sustainable development are a set of policies that attempt to implement the principle of sustainability on the economic level in every country. When we say sustainable development, it refers to the world using the Earth's resources and preserve such resources for the future needs. That's what we call sustainable development. The relationship between globalization and sustainability is multidimensional because it involves economic, political, and technological aspects. We are able to utilize energy, discover new technologies, and make advancement in transportation and communication because of the natural resources. These national resources are water and fossils. Fuel allows humanity to discover and innovate many things. So that we can utilize energy, discover new technologies, and make advancement in transportation and communication. But these positive effects of development put our environment at a disadvantage, such as climate change accelerated and global inequality was not eradicated. This means that development, although, deve- although beneficial at one hand, entails costs on the other hand. That's all. Thank you.
Environmental evolution, development, especially economic development, was hastened by the Industrial Revolution. This occurred in human history that made possible the cycle of efficiency. Efficiency is finding the quickest possible way of producing large amounts of particular product. This process made buying of goods easier for the people. Then there is an increased demand. Ultimately, there was an increased efficiency. This cycle harms the planet in a number of ways. For instance, the Earth's atmosphere is damaged by more carbon emissions from factories around the world. Another example is the destruction of coral reefs and marine biodiversity as more and more waste are thrown in the ocean. Many experts think that the planet can sustain a growing global economy. Deforestation, pollution, and climate change will not adjust for us, especially if increase in living standards leads people to demand more consumer goods like cars, meat, and smartphones. Environmental degradation o ang pagkasira ng kapaligiran. Sinasabi dito na kaunlaran, lalo ng pag-unlad ng ekonomiya ay pinabilis ng represyong pang-industriya. Ito ang panahon sa isa-isa ng tao na ginagawang posible ang ikot ng kapasayan. Efficiency ay nangangahulog ng paghahanap ng pinakabilis posibleng paraan ng paggawa ng malaking halaga ng partikular na produkto. Ginawa ng prosesong ito ang pagpili ng kalakal na mas madali para sa mga tao. Ang pag-ikot na ito ay nakasama sa ating planeta sa maraming paraan. Halimbawa, ang kapaligiran ng mundo ay napinsala ng maraming source ng carbon mula sa mga pabrika sa buong. Harvey noted that the neoliberals and environmentalists debate the impact of free trade on the environment. Environmentalists agree that the environmental issue should be given priority. Harvey noted that the neoliberals and environmentalists debate the impact of free trade on the environment. Environmentalists agree that the environmental issue should be given priority over economic issues. Free trade, through its emphasis on the expansion of manufacturing, is associated with environmental damage. For their part, neoliberals see the efforts of the environmentalists as serious impediments to trade. Some seek to interrogate these approaches. For instance, ecological modernization theory sees globalization as a process that can both protect and enhance the environment. Various efforts are underway to deal with climate change. However, strong resistance on the part of government and corporation counters this. For instance, the Kyoto Protocol aimed at the reduction of global carbon emissions but failed to take off largely because it was not ratified by the United States. However, momentum is being built up in the corporate circles in dealing with environmental problems. There are significant challenges involved implementing various measures such as carbon tax and carbon neutrality to deal with environmental problems. It is also difficult to find alternatives to fossil fuels. For instance, Barrio stated that the use of ethanol as an alternative to gasoline has an attendant set of problems. It is less efficient and it has led to an escalation in the price of corn, which currently serves as major source of ethanol. Although biofuels themselves reduce lower emissions, their extraction and transport contribute significantly to total emissions. Previous experience in dealing with environmental issues indicates that the global view of the problem is required. A focus on specific regions such as Europe overlooks impacts in other regions. Instead of dealing with the causes of global warming, there is some interest in technological fixes such as geoengineering. Ayon kay Harvey, ang malayang kalakalan sa kalikasan ay pinagtatanungan ng mga neoliberal at environmentalist at ang mga isyu sa kapaligiran ay dapat bigyan ng priority kaysa sa mga isyong pangkabuhayan. Ang libreng kalakal sa pagbibigay din sa expansion ng pagmamanufaktura ay nasamahan ng pinsala sa kapaligiran. Para sa kanilang bahagi, makikita ng mga neoliberal ang pagsisikap ng mga environmentalist bilang seryosong hadlang sa kalakalan. Halimbawa, nakikita ng teolohikal na modernisasyon, tayo ng globalisasyon bilang isang proseso na maaring parehong maprotektahan at mabuti ang kapaligiran ng taong 2000. Halimbawa, sinabi ni Villanueva na ang paggamit ng ethanol bilang isang alternatibo sa ang gasolina ay mayroong isang dumadala na hanin ng mga problema ay hindi gaanong epektibo at humantong sa isang pagtaas sa presyo ng mais na kasalukuyan nagsisilbing pangunahing pagkukunan ng kabuhayan ng mga ethanol at ang transportasyon ay malaki ang naiaambag sa kabuang emisyon. Ang dating karanasan sa pagharap sa mga isyu at kapaligiran na nagpapahiwatig ng pandaigdigang problema.
Food security. Global food security means delivering sufficient food to the entire world population. It is therefore a priority of all countries, developed or less developed. Since food, pinakapangunahing pangangailangan ng tao, priority ito ng lahat ng mga bansa, magmula sa pinakamayamang bansa hanggang sa pinakamahirap na bansa. Also, the security of food also means the sustainability of society such as population growth, climate change, water scarcity, and agriculture. In fact, in 2016, Breen said that the demand for food will be 60% greater than it is today, and the challenge of food security requires the world to feed 9 billion by 2015. Kanina nag-search ako sa Google kung ilang tao na yung nabubuhay sa mundo, and as of September 2020, according to the most recent United Nations estimate elaborated by Worldmeter, there are already 7.8 billion people in this world. The same year, Breen cited the case of India to show how complex the issue of food security is in relation to other factors. Agriculture accounts for 18% of the economy's output and 47% of its workforce. India is the second biggest producer of fruits and vegetables in the world. Yet, according to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, some 194 million Indians are undernourished, the largest number of hungry people in any single country. An estimated 15.2% of the population of India are too malnourished to lead a normal life. A third of the world's malnourished children live in India. So, kahit second sa pinakamalaking producer ng prutas at gulay ang India, marami pa rin sa kanila ang malnourished. There are 194 million Indians malnourished, and 15.2% of the populations are too malnourished to live a normal life. At isa pa, pangatlo sa pinakamalnourished sa buong mundo ay nakatira sa India. Kahit sila ang pangalawa sa pinakamalaking producer ng prutas at gulay sa India, hindi pa rin sapat iyon dahil sa napakalaki nilang population. But perhaps the closest aspect of human life associated with food security is the environment. The challenge to food security can be traced to the protection of the environment. A major environmental problem is the destruction of natural habitat, particularly through deforestation. Diamond said in bite in 2016. Industrial fishing has contributed to a significant destruction of marine life and ecosystems, Goldberg said in 2018. Biodiversity and usable farmland have also declined at a rapid pace. Sabi nga nila, ang nature ay kayang mabuhay kahit walang tao, pero ang tao ay hindi kayang mabuhay ng walang nature. Since nature ang pangunahing source of food natin, nakasalalay dun kung magkukulang or susobra ba yung source of food ng buong mundo. Pero dahil sa paglipas ng panahon, dahil parami na rin ang paramihang tao sa buong mundo, nako-convert na ang mga agricultural land sa mga commercial land. Laganap din ang dynamite fishing na nagkakos ng harm sa ating marine life. In 2016, Kano said that another significant environmental challenge is that one of the decline in the availability of fresh water. The decline in the water supply because of degradation of soil or desertification, Glantz said in 1977, has transformed what was once considered a public good into a private commodity. The poorest areas of the globe experience a disproportionate share of water-related problems. The problem is further intensified by the consumption of virtual water, wherein people inadvertently use up water from elsewhere in the world through the consumption of water-intensive products, Ritzer said in 2015. The destruction of the water ecosystem may lead to the creation of climate refuge people who are forced to migrate due to the lack of access to water or due to flooding, Ritzer said in 2015. For example, yung bansang Africa, more on sa bansa nila is desert, wala silang supply na tubig, or kung meron man, very minimal, na hindi enough sa population na meron sila. Sinasabi rin dito na because hindi sapat yung tubig, nagkakaroon ng migration. Ang mga taong walang sapat na supply ng tubig ay nagmamigrate sa bansa kung saan merong sapat na supply na tubig dahil primary need din ng tao ang water. Also, population through toxic chemical has had a long-term impact on the environment. The use of persistent organic pollutants has led to the significant industrial population, Denham said in 2017. Greenhouse gases that trap sunlight and heat in the Earth's atmosphere contribute greatly to global warming. In return, this process caused the melting of land-based and glacial ice with potentially catastrophic effect, Ripken said in 2018. The possibility of substantial flooding, a reduction in the alkalinity of the oceans, and destruction of existing ecosystem. Ultimately, global warming poses a threat to the global supply of food as well as to human health, Brown said in 2017. Furthermore, population growth and its attendant increase in consumption intensify ecological problems. The global flow of dangerous debris is another major concern, which electronic waste often dump in developing countries. There are different models and agenda pushed by different organizations to address the issue of global food security. One of these is through sustainability. The United Nations has set ending hunger, achieving food security and improved nutrition, and promoting sustainable agriculture as the second of its 17 Sustainable Developing Goals for the year 2030. The World Economic Forum 2010 also addressed this issue through the new vision for agriculture. In 2019, wherein public and to private partnership were established. It has mobilized over $10 billion that reach smallholder farmers. The forum's initiatives were launched to establish cooperation and encourage exchange of knowledge among farmers, government, civil society, and the private sector in both regional and national levels, BRIN and 2016. So, magandang balita na nagkakaroon ng partnership between public and private. At para magkaroon ng new vision sa ating agriculture at nagkakaroon ng mga project para matapos ang kagutuman sa mundo, para na rin ma-achieve ang food security and improve nutrition and promoting sustainable agriculture. Dahil kailangan ng tao ang sapat na pagkain para mabuhay sa mundo, mas maganda talagang pagtuunan ng pansin. Lalong-lalo na ang mga mahirap na bansa na hindi nagkakaroon ng sapat at malinis na tubig,